At my engagement party, Mom toasted me, then took back my $45,000 wedding fund and gave it to my sister. So there I was, just minding my own business at our engagement party in Brookmere, a pretty decent-sized city where I work as a graphic designer. I'm Charlotte Johnson, by the way, 30 years young. Everything felt perfect that night. The place was dimly lit, and it smelled like fresh flowers, with camel centerpieces and soft music making everything feel extra special. After 4 years of dating, Charles and I were finally taking the plunge and getting married in 4 months. Charles, who's as tall and warm as a summer day, was right by my side, his hand gently on my back. We met at a company retreat when he joined the marketing agency I work at, and sparks flew. He's smart, reliable, and kind, and we've built a pretty solid life together with lots of respect and shared goals. As I looked around the room, I saw lots of familiar faces, all grinning back at me. Charles' folks were there, as well as old college pals, co-workers, and even some cousins I hadn't caught up with in forever. My family was around too, or most of them, anyway. My folks, Owen and Erica Johnson, sat at a table up front, but their smiles seemed a bit forced. My younger sister, Chloe, was there too, mostly lost in her phone, probably on her third one this year. We've never been all that close, and it's only gotten more distant over the years. But hey, I wasn't gonna let any family drama ruin the night. This was supposed to be about love and commitment, right? Then my mom, Erica, got up and did that classic tapping on the wine glass to get everyone's attention. She had this smile that didn't quite reach her eyes as she started with the usual congrats for me and Charles, hoping our marriage would be filled with love and all that good stuff. Everyone clinked glasses and clapped politely. I was feeling pretty grateful until her tone shifted, turning all serious, and she said she had an important announcement. To my shock, she said that after discussing it with my dad, they decided to give my $45,000 wedding fund to Chloe instead. The room went dead quiet, and I was sure I'd misheard her. I even chuckled a bit, thinking it was some kind of joke. But my mom's smile vanished, and she was dead serious. She claimed Chloe needed it more for her wedding, which was just a few months after mine. I felt my face getting hot and my stomach twisting into knots. "What do you mean that's my money?" I practically blurted out. "You guys gave it to me, and it's in my account." In this annoyingly calm voice, my mom tried to reason with me, saying I was doing great and so was Charles. Chloe and her fiancé were having a tough time and deserved a nice wedding too. My hands were shaking as I stood up, trying to hold my ground. I explained how we'd planned everything around that money and were even planning to use some of it for a down payment on a new place. Just then, Chloe jumped up so fast she almost spilled her drink. She yelled at me for being selfish and insisted I should have offered to share the money ages ago. I'm sorry, but this wasn't about what she needed, it was about what was fair. Chloe had blown through her own savings and now she expected me to bail her out. My mom chimed in again, insisting Chloe lived simply and needed the help, while I've always had more. I crossed my arms, feeling my frustration boiling over. "I've worked for everything I have," I shouted back, sticking to my guns. "I played by the rules, I saved up, and there's no way I'm giving you my money." The tension in the room was sky high, with my mom's face turning beet red as Charles tried to calm me down. And then, out of nowhere, she slapped me. Hard. Right in front of everyone. It was like time stopped as the sound echoed around the room, and just like that, the night took a whole different turn. I whipped my head to the side and immediately felt my eyes start to swell. My cheek throbbed, not just from the sting but from the shock of it all. The room went dead silent, no one so much as flinched. Even Chloe looked as stunned as I was. Slowly, I turned back to face my mom and, keeping my voice steady and low, I told her, "You can't just hit me because I said no." Someone at a nearby table gasped, and then I heard it. A server at the bar was whispering into a phone, saying, "Yes, hello, I'd like to report an assault. It just happened at Alden's Bistro." Before long, we could hear sirens getting closer, and everyone in the restaurant just sat there, speechless, with some folks stealing glances at me while others awkwardly stared at their food. I stayed quiet, reeling from what had just happened. Sure, my cheek ached, but the emotional pain was way heavier. My dad quietly tried to calm Erica down, while Charles stood by me, his jaw tight. A bit later, 2 cops showed up at the restaurant. One came over to our table and asked if I'd been hit. I nodded, keeping it low-key. A nearby server stepped up to confirm the slap, explaining how Erica had hit me in front of everyone. Erica tried to brush it off, saying it was just a family thing, but the officer patiently explained that any kind of violence is a no-go, no matter who you are. The officers asked if I wanted to press charges, and even though my heart was pounding, I answered steadily, "Yes, I do." Right there in the restaurant, they arrested Erica. I saw Chloe staring at me like I was the villain just for standing up for myself. My dad followed them out without a word. Around me, people didn't know if they should clap, cry, or just leave, but everything stayed frozen. Charles never let go of my hand the whole time. After talking with my lawyer, I made things official and filed a report that night. The next day, Erica was out on bail, but the legal gears were already in motion. We were back in court a few weeks later, this time focusing on the slap, not the money. Erica stood before the judge, who reviewed the restaurant's security video and witness statements. The evidence was undeniable. She got slapped with a $2,000 fine, 6 months of probation, and was ordered to take anger management classes after being found guilty of misdemeanor assault. Luckily for her, the judge gave her a 30-day suspended jail sentence instead of actual jail time. She avoided looking at me as I sat in the courtroom, but when the judge asked if I had anything to say, I looked my mom straight in the eyes and said, "I didn't expect this from you, but no one's above the law." I thought things would calm down after the court drama ended, but instead, the slap and the arrest only drove a bigger wedge between our family. Erica cut off all contact, Chloe blocked me on everything, and my dad just kept his mouth shut. But the real storm was still brewing. 3 weeks after the engagement party, I got home to find a thick envelope in my mailbox, the kind that makes your stomach churn. It was from Holland Sutter Associates, a law firm. Inside, there was a notice saying my parents were suing me for $45,000, claiming I had misused it and it was only meant for tuition. I initially laughed at the absurdity. When I was 17, I had put the money in a custodial account, making it legally mine. At 19, I had full control over it. Chloe and I were told by our parents that once we were adults, we could use the money however we wanted. The only difference was that I'd been careful and practical, using some of it to pay for public university with scholarship help, letting the rest grow. I was always planning for the future. In contrast, Chloe went to a pricey private school but dropped out after 2.5 years. She used what was left of her funds to start a boutique, which crashed after just 7 months. She'd blown cash on a lavish launch party, hired influencers, and an over-the-top photo shoot. When it all fell apart, all she had left was a flashy car she impulsively bought, thinking she'd make it big. Now she and my parents wanted my money since Chloe had squandered hers. I hired Brianna Lane, a sharp and confident lawyer. After checking out my documents, she looked at me and said, "They've got no case. The account was a gift to you, with no strings attached. Any talk of a verbal agreement won't hold up in court." I nodded, feeling both relieved and annoyed, wondering why my family was putting us through this. "Why's this happening?" Brianna shrugged and said, "Because some folks would rather tear you down than admit they messed up, especially when they're covering for someone else." In that moment, I realized it wasn't just a legal fight I was up against, it felt like I was signing up for a lifetime of chaos, denial, and unfairness. My mom wasn't just trying to take my money, she wanted me to pay for Chloe's failures to make up for them. Those next few months were some of the toughest in my life. Everything I had, my time, energy, and even my focus at work, was swallowed up by this legal mess. There were so many court hearings, endless emails, piles of paperwork, and countless requests for information. Each time I walked into the courtroom and saw my parents sitting with Chloe, avoiding my gaze, it felt like a stab in the back. Chloe's smug face during the hearings, clearly confident she'd somehow get her hands on the money I'd saved for ages, was the worst. She even told the court, during one particular heated session, that the money was only ever supposed to be for college. "Did you spend all of your funds only on college stuff?" my lawyer asked pointedly, standing tall. Chloe hesitated and mumbled, "Well, not all of it." Brianna nodded, she was right on it. "In fact, you dropped out and blew the rest on some fancy car and a business that didn't pan out, didn't you?" Chloe's face went tight, trying to dismiss it, but Brianna fired back, "So if there were such strict rules on the money, how come you got to spend it on anything but education without any issues?" Chloe couldn't answer, and the courtroom was silent. My heart was pounding, yet I felt surprisingly calm. My parents' favoritism, Chloe's irresponsibility, and their attempts to hide her failures by throwing me under the bus were all becoming clear. Charles was my rock through all of this. He was at every hearing, helped me through every hurdle, and always reminded me why it was crucial to stand firm. But it was far from easy. All our wedding plans were taking a hit because of the legal bills and how drained I felt emotionally. We had to put some plans on hold. I barely slept. Sometimes, I'd find myself crying in the middle of the night or during work meetings. But I never backed down. I realized this wasn't just about money, this was about standing up for myself, making sure I mattered. Just when I thought things couldn't get worse, they did. My cousin Melissa called while I was at home, Going through a list of wedding vendors. Hey, Charlotte, I'm really sorry about the wedding being called off. My heart skipped a beat. What on earth are you talking about? The wedding's still happening. She paused and said, but your mom told me last week you and Charles split because he cheated on you. My jaw must have hit the floor. Over the next hour, I got 3 more calls from confused friends and distant family asking why I'd called off the wedding. Apparently, fake emails supposedly from me were going around saying the event was cancelled. Nothing showed up in my sent folder when I checked my email, which meant someone had set up a fake account pretending to be me. I was stunned and immediately thought of Chloe. It seemed obvious, but I didn't have any proof. The legal drama was just the start. It had gotten personal. One of the few family members who hadn't chosen sides was my mom's sister, Aunt Mara, so I called her. I was about to call you, she sighed. Your mom's been telling people you're lying about Charles, that you're unstable, and that the wedding was never even a thing. Exhausted, I leaned against the wall and asked, why is she doing this? Because she's covering for Chloe, Aunt Mara replied gently. She's always had Chloe's back, even when she didn't deserve it. I love Chloe, but your mom's enabling her and dragging you through the mud to make her look better. The betrayal hit harder than anything that happened in court. My own mother was trying to ruin my reputation to gain sympathy for my sister. When Charles got home that night, he immediately knew something was up. What happened? He asked. I explained what Melissa had said and showed him the fake emails. He wasn't surprised, but he was really upset. Your sister texted me too, he said grimly. She claimed she had proof you were cheating on me and sent photos. I stared at him, shocked. He pulled out his phone and showed me some awful, obviously fake pictures of a woman with my face stuck on it next to some random guy. It was both disturbing and absurdly bad. Charles just shook his head. Of course I didn't buy it, but my parents saw them too. Your family is trying to destroy everything we're building. At that point, we decided. So, for the wedding, we decided to bring in a pro security team. We sent them photos of Erica, Owen and Chloe with strict instructions not to let them in. I really didn't want any more chaos, even though I hated that things had reached this point. On the morning of the wedding, I woke up with this odd mix of nerves and excitement. Just outside of Brookmere, Charles and I had picked this gorgeous outdoor spot for the ceremony. It was classy and personal, without any of that over-the-top stuff. The place was all green, with neat white chairs lined up facing a lovely wooden bridge covered in fresh flowers. As guests began to arrive, I was in my dress, in this little bridal room, fussing with my veil. I wasn't nervous about saying I do, but more about what might still go wrong. 2 top-notch security guys were stationed at the entrance, with strict orders to keep my immediate family out. Charles and I had gone over every single detail, but I just couldn't relax. Around 2:15, there was a knock on the door of my bridal suite. A guard came in, speaking quietly. Miss Johnson, he said, we've just stopped a young woman trying to sneak in through the back service gate. She looks like the photos you gave us. My heart was pounding when I asked, Chloe, my sister? Was she alone? Yes, he replied, but she had a tote bag with her. When they checked it, they found a big can of red paint. My throat tightened with every breath. She'd planned to ruin the dress, the venue, everything. I was hit with disbelief, sadness, and anger all at once. The guard asked, do you want to press charges? We can call the sheriff. I hesitated. I had plenty of reasons to get the police involved again, after everything, the slap, the lawsuit, the lies, the fake photos, and now this. But I decided this was my wedding day, and their mess wasn't going to take any more from me. I told him, no, just make sure she's escorted off the property and doesn't come back. Also, double check that my parents didn't sneak in. He nodded and left. I sank into a nearby chair, trying not to cry. My best friend Isabel was by my side, asking what happened. My voice was shaky when I told her, Chloe tried to get in with a paint can. She wanted to ruin everything. Isabel's eyes went wide, then narrowed in anger. This just means you've won, she said firmly. They couldn't stop your happiness, so they tried to spoil it. But you stopped them. Now go marry the man who stood by you through all of this. You deserve every bit of today. I wiped my tears, took a deep breath, and stood up. My Uncle Brian walked me down the aisle to Charles, who was waiting for me under the floral arch. As I stepped into the garden, everything else disappeared, every pain, tear, court date, and betrayal faded away. It was all about love today. The ceremony was beautiful and touching, filled with promises of partnership, strength, and loyalty. When the officiant pronounced us husband and wife, the guests cheered, and I felt lighter than I had in months, free. The reception was beyond amazing. There were heartfelt speeches from those who stood by us, sprinkled with music and fun. Isabel's toast even brought tears to my eyes, the kind of emotions that only come after going through a storm and finding peace on the other side. It felt like nothing else mattered as Charles and I celebrated, danced, and ate. And really, almost nothing else did. Everyone commented on how lovely the venue looked, how happy we seemed, and how the day was just filled with genuine love. While some guests caught wind of the drama, they respected our privacy. During dinner, one aunt quietly said, "I'm so proud of you for holding your ground." Her words stayed with me long after the cake was cut and the music died down. As Charles and I ran hand in hand through a shower of rice our friends threw, grinning like kids under a starry sky, I knew we had something special. We hopped into a waiting car and drove away. I turned around for one last look at the glowing venue in the distance. My sister might have tried, but she didn't succeed in ruining that moment, or any others. We had the most amazing honeymoon in a peaceful seaside town far from Brookmere, just the two of us for 3 weeks, no courts, no conflicts, just love, the sun, and the waves. I took a deep breath, really breathed for the first time in ages, ready to move forward. When we got back, we focused on settling into our apartment, making plans for the future, and leaving the past behind. A few weeks later, I bumped into my cousin Rachel at the grocery store, and she asked, "Did you hear? Hey, did you hear about Chloe's wedding?" She asked after giving me a quick hug. I raised an eyebrow and replied, "We haven't really been in touch." She went on, "Your parents took out a loan to cover everything. It's happening at the Grand Garden Hotel downtown, super fancy. They're flying in a chef from out of state. It's a whole big production." I chuckled quietly, as it was clear they were going all out for Chloe, even if it meant going into debt. Rachel gently asked, "Would you go if she invited you?" Remembering how she tried to ruin my wedding with a can of paint, I said angrily, "No way, I'm not going." Oddly enough, I never got an invitation. Later, through family gossip, I found out that some relatives refused to attend Chloe's wedding because they didn't like how I'd been treated. Some people were polite about it, others were more outspoken, but either way, the excitement had started to dim for both Chloe and my parents. That $45,000 was used exactly as Charles and I planned. Our wedding was simple, meaningful, and full of loved ones, just what we'd imagined. We used the leftover money for a down payment on a beautiful apartment outside the city. The mortgage was affordable with both of our incomes, and for the first time, we were building equity instead of just paying rent. Despite the apartment's small size, it was ours, made with patience and tough choices instead of relying on others. After the wedding, life settled into a rhythm I didn't know I needed. On weekends, Charles and I decorated our new place, not lavishly, but with walls full of wedding and travel photos, shelves we put up ourselves, and a couch we saved up for. One Saturday afternoon, Charles was giggling as he struggled with an IKEA dresser while we were setting up the guest room. "Who do you think will be our first overnight guest?" he asked. I paused, holding a screwdriver, briefly thinking of my parents. In an alternate reality, they might apologize. Maybe Chloe would grow up and own up to her actions, but I wasn't holding my breath. With a soft smile, I responded, "Whoever it is, they'll be someone who truly cares about us." Holidays went by without any texts, calls, or invites. Their absence hurt at first. My birthday came and went with no call from my mom. But then I thought about the slap, the lawsuit, the lies, the paint, the fake pictures, and the jealousy-driven attempts to ruin something pure, and the hurt turned into understanding. Sometimes, Charles would ask if I ever thought my family and I would make peace. I'd answer honestly, maybe someday, but if it happens, it'll take more than an apology, it'll take real change, and I don't see that happening anytime soon. Chloe's wedding came and went. I heard it was extravagant, with designer matching outfits for the bridesmaids, champagne fountains, and a string quartet. But some key family members chose not to go because they were uncomfortable with how my parents and sister treated me. Worse, word got out that Owen and Erica had taken a huge loan to put on a show and pretend last year hadn't happened. They went all in, but people remembered. As Charles and I built our marriage, I came to realize that family is more than just blood relatives. It's about the people who respect your peace, honor your boundaries, and celebrate your successes. Yes, I lost a lot, but I gained a home, a supportive husband, and friends and family who stood by me after seeing the truth. Above all, I still had myself. I didn't crumble, I stood my ground. I protected what I created out of respect, not greed. With that $45,000 investment, we bought stability, a home, and a future, our freedom, really. Freedom from manipulation, guilt, and a family who thought love required obedience. I stood up for myself and won, not just in court, but in life. Thanks for sticking around for this wild family saga. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like and comment below. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on more stories full of drama and real life inspiration. Thanks for tuning in. Anyway, if you're still here, thanks for sticking around, and don't forget to subscribe for more wild stories like this one.